So hopefully my computer doesn't decide to be really noisy and have the fan going constantly. Also, I think I should try and bring this a little bit closer. Hopefully that's a little bit easier. Anyway, hello and welcome back to The Lion's Den. I'm your host Matt as always, and my phone is buzzing. Hold up, let me just set my phone to not buzz, because that would be awkward. Right, hello. Yes, I've already said that, haven't I? My goodness, it's been a crazy week. Work's been very short on the ground in terms of staff through nobody's fault. People get sick, it just happens. So it's been crazy doing a lot of work at home. Not work at home, doing just a lot of work. And yeah, I'm glad that the weekend is around the corner because I am ready for, just the standard break that everyone gets at the end of the week, assuming you don't work Saturday, Sunday. I really feel sorry for you if you do. I'm very sorry about that. But what have I been doing to keep me going through all of this? Well, firstly, I've been going to the gym, which has been both good and bad. You have those days where you can just go absolutely crazy and lift more than you've ever lifted before. And there's other days where you really just can't. You just cannot do it. But I have also been playing a lot of Age of Calamity once again, and I want to just kind of talk about that, to be perfectly honest. That's what I'm feeling. That's what you're getting. I'm sorry if you don't care about this. So let's jump into it. First off, I think Age of Calamity is an underrated gem. I think much like just the Hyrule Warriors Definitive Edition that came out for the Wii U, 3DS, and now on the Switch. It's a really good game that not a lot of people have probably played because they think, it's weird, it's not a Zelda game. And in the traditional sense, yeah, it's not a Zelda game because there's no dungeons or puzzles or anything. It's all just defeating hordes of enemies. But there is something to that, and it is oddly enjoyable and oddly satisfying. So I would recommend at least watching some gameplay and seeing that. My biggest gripe with it is that the story does not pick up until like a good chunk into the gameplay. Like you have to play for a good while before the story actually takes off and is interesting. And yeah, so if you're not wild about Breath of the Wild as I was, you might struggle to kind of get going with it. But once it gets going, oh boy, does it just every turn it surprises me again and again. The story's really good in terms of reenacting the stuff that happened before the events of Breath of the Wild. So it's like, yeah, I'm into this. So story wise, fantastic. There's a couple of things in terms of how it plays in the game that I'm just going to go over. So the first two things that I'll talk about is the progression and the level system because they're sort of intertwined. So the way you progress in this game, and maybe in all not Hyrule Warriors, maybe in all of the like Dynasty Warrior style games, is there are big event chapters, right? There are just huge battles that take you probably 20, 30, maybe 40 minutes to complete. And they're a huge story point, tons of stuff happens in them, and that's how you progress the plot. And then in between it, there are little small side quests that you can do to level up your characters and to unlock more abilities. And then there are super side quests that do general buffs and stuff for the characters that you play with. This is fine, it works. The problem for me is that there are level caps on each battle that you do. Now, it's not a level capped in the strict sense that you have to physically be at that level to go on the battle. You can be under leveled, you can be over leveled, and you can go into any battle. But they recommend like this is the level your character should be at, otherwise you're probably going to have a bad time. In my experience, there are ways to work around this. There are not certain ones, but like a large amount of the time you can be maybe 1 or 2 levels under and be fine if you're just not an idiot like I am half the time. Half the time I'm just charging in like a bull in a china shop, and that does not work. But as long as you're sensible and you take your time, you can do it. Also, you can kind of take the weapon fusion system for leveling up your weapons and just absolutely crank them through the roof, and that also helps a lot with the level deficit if you're going into battles. Now, my biggest problem is in the back of my head, especially for the big chapter events, I'm like, yeah, I need to be sat at the level they're telling me because it's probably half an hour of really intense, lots of fighting. I probably need to be at the right level to go for it. But oftentimes the jump in level will be so much from one to the next that it's difficult to level up your characters. Now, there are things around to help with that, which I'll get back to in a moment. So, So let's say, for example, chapter 1, the level threshold is level 5, right? That's the recommended level that you need to be at for you to not be absolutely steamrolled. The next one will then jump to something stupid like 15, which is quite a lot of levels to kind of work your way up. And I think the implication is there's these side battles, right, that are varying levels in increments of 10. So like they'll go from level 10 to 20. And the idea is that as you work through those, you'll level up your character to the next chapter point, right? But oftentimes there's not enough of the low level ones, if that makes sense. So let's say in the 10 to 20 bracket, there'll be a couple of fights that are like 11, 12, 13. And then the rest of them will be much higher, so 16, 17, whatnot, which is not good because they end up being a higher level than the chapter one that you're working towards. So you can't do them to level up your character for the next chapter, which is it's frustrating because you end up in this impasse where the things that you're using to level up to get to the next chapter are more difficult than the chapter you're trying to get to, which is frustrating. The slight way around that is there is just a pay to level up character selection, which kind of helps in the long run because you'll find there are characters you prefer to play with and characters you don't, and to keep everyone roughly in the same level you can just pay to have the ones you don't care about leveled up. It's expensive though, and the only way to make money is to either sell items or do the battles, which you can't do because you need to be the right level. Do you see my point? But that's like my main gripe about the whole progression system. It works. There are just slight annoyances that you have to kind of navigate in the best way possible. So, speaking of leveling, the characters. Ooh, the characters are like the main reason why you play these games, because it's just cool. I mean, the whole premise initially, without trying to spoil anything, is hi, you liked Breath of the Wild, you liked all of the champions like Rivali, Urbosa, Daruk, and Mifa, you like them, right? Well, no, you can play as them, and they are all so good. Oh, I love them. Outside of some of the side characters that I'm not too jazzed with, the main characters, the ones that you know and you love and you care about, absolutely amazing. And I love the fact that all characters get bonus upgrades to increase the more things that they can do, the more ways they can fight. It's so good. It's so well done. And it feels so accurate to the world that it's trying to live in. And I think that's phenomenal. They've done really well to kind of put that across. And when the like surprise twist comes halfway through, that's the thing I have to stress, is that you have to get to that twist point before your brain goes, holy moly, this is incredible. Once you hit that point, the other characters that they bring in are amazing, and some of the side characters as well are also really cool. And I haven't seen much of the DLC because I haven't finished the main game, but when I get to that point, I'm assuming they're throwing even more characters from the DLC point that are going to be absolutely fantastic. So can you tell I'm excited because it's really, really cool? Another thing, again, following on from the whole characters, right? The voice lines. Oh my lord. I've never had such enjoyment from just hearing characters talk. The way they mesh the voice lines with what's going on screen, and the stuff that they say is really cool. Like, they're all in character, so they all fit very well for the things you do. So like if you upgrade a character to have a bonus combo, the way they react to that happening is very personal and in character. I love it. I also love that when you have battles where you can pick multiple characters at once, depending on the combinations you pick, they also then have lines that interact with each other, so it's really cool in that sense. And the way they talk to each other when you're in a battle that has multiple characters is also really good. It's just really well done, and it's such a pleasure to just hear the voice lines. As small as that is, it's incredible that they've managed to capture that sort of essence of one of the good things of this game, on top of everything else, is just hearing your characters say stuff. And that's mind-blowing. I didn't think I would enjoy so much just hearing my favorite characters say stuff. So yeah, that's cool. Okay, enough about that. My next slight gripe, okay, we're going highs and lows, right, is playing it on a TV versus playing it on a handheld. If I only had a Switch Lite, I would absolutely hate playing this game because it is not a game that lends itself very well to playing on a handheld. And I don't even think the Switch OLED would be the solution because it's just too small of a screen. It's too small of a screen area to capture the amount that you're doing. And often the camera's zooming really far out so that you can see kind of everything that's going on. And already small screen, that's not fun at all. I would suggest if you have a Switch or a Switch OLED which you can dock, it's fine if you want to do like the quick stuff, or if you want to do stuff where it's kind of like one-on-one battles with a main enemy, that works fine on the screen. But I would recommend any of the big sort of ceremonial events and the chapter events, wait till you get home and do them on a screen. I mean, you need like half an hour anyway, so realistically, if you're playing out and about, you don't have half an hour to sit down and fully involve yourself. So that would be another recommendation. Of all of the battles that you can do, there is one that I absolutely hate because it's so infuriatingly stupid, and they're called hair width trials. So essentially you go into a battle, and regardless of how much health you have, how many healing items you have, whatever, a single hit ends the trial. That's it. And generally it will be like you'll have to fight a bunch of enemies and just not get hit by anything, and I mean anything, right? So the one that I did recently they had 7 main enemies that were quite big. They're slow, so you can kind of take your time and plan your moves out methodically. But then they'd put them in a room with like 100 mini enemies that would all just kind of charge at you in one go. And unless you had a method of clearing out the room from a distance, you're gonna get hit and you're gonna be stuck doing an attack and get hit by something that you can't see. And they were also really mean because they'd have tight corridors with right angles, so you can't see down them. And they'd put like keys in there that would just suddenly fly at you and one-shot you and end the trial. Oh, so annoying, so frustrating. I wouldn't mind if they gave me like a really tough boss rush with like stone taluses and lionels, really big enemies, but kept them separate for a hair width trial. I feel like that would be reasonable. This just feels kind of cheap in my opinion. But I managed to cheese the last hair width trial by literally leveling up my character mid-fight, and that was so broken because what happens is when your character levels up mid-fight, one, they regain all of their health, so that's really good if you're in a big battle where you're getting hit a lot, and 2, they get their special gauge attacks completely filled. Now up to this point I'd over leveled the character and they had 3 special attack gauges. Oh my god, that was so broken. I literally walked into the final room with 2 special attack gauges, pressed it twice, finished the trial. There was 3 enemies in there, they all died in 2 attack gauges, so that was absolutely hilarious. And that comes back to my idea with the whole character leveling, that if you over level the weaponry, you're gonna have so much of an easier time. So easy. When I figured out how that system worked, and mind you, that system is garbage, I do not understand it at all, but basically I fiddled around with it enough to eventually level weapons to stupid figures. I mean stupid damage figures. It makes the game so much more enjoyable because you're just not banging your head. So yeah, if you're struggling in the game, go level up the weaponry. Just my recommendation is fiddle around with the way you fuse weaponry. So instead of fusing A onto B, try fusing B onto A, because they're not the same. The game treats them differently, and I don't quite know why. It probably has tried to explain to me how it does that. I don't understand it. But yeah, I tried that. Try fusing them in different orders, and try fusing, say you've got 5 weapons, try fusing weapons 4 and 5 before you then fuse 1 onto that now 4 and 5 that's been fused, if that makes sense. It'll make sense if you've played the game, let's put it that way. So yeah, can you tell I really like this game despite its glaring issues? It's like 80% fantastic and then 20% really annoying, which to me levels out as a good game, because the fantastic stuff is so fantastic that I can deal with the 20% garbage. But yeah, anyway, I hope you've all enjoyed listening to me ramble on again about a video game that I really like. Yeah, stay safe, and I'll see you all next week. Bye!